It's 6 p.m. Eastern. Welcome to the Daily Wrap. And tonight on the show, Sirius XM radio star, columnist with Forbes magazine, and the Daily Wrap's version of Norm from Cheers. Rick Unger is here, everybody.
Okay, that may be the final. I'm out of here.
Okay, no, I'm just saying.
I have to go.
no.
I have to go.
You're missing the context. You're a staple here. Norm is always at Cheers. You're always here. You bought it to alcohol.
I got it to this and alcohol.
Right,
Jeez
no.
Louise,
And she's from the
never.
city of brotherly love, and she's like Marcia Clark, but the exact opposite in the courtroom. Attorney Heather Hansen, everybody. And finally, you read him at wisdomdaily.com and newsmax.com. He's the king of .com. Brad Hirschfield joins us.
So
Call me your highness.
You get a
I'm
good
the king.
introduction. We get
I'm
Marcia
Marcia
Clark
Clark
and
and
Norm.
Hey, I earned it.
Okay, guys, enough about you. We're here to talk BB. Let's go to the Daily Download. And today, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke to Congress and gave what could be very well the speech of his career.
This deal has two major concessions. One,
Really like this.
leaving Iran with a vast nuclear program. And two, lifting the restrictions on that program in about a decade. That's why this deal is so bad. It doesn't block Iran's path to the bomb. It paves Iran's path to the bomb. So why would anyone make this deal? Because they hope that Iran will change for the better in the coming years? Or they believe that the alternative to this deal is worse? Well, I disagree. I don't believe that Iran's radical regime will change for the better after this deal. This regime has been in power for 36 years, and its voracious appetite for aggression grows with each passing year. This deal would only whet Iran's appetite for more.
And the Prime Minister believes the United States will still stand with Israel.
We are no longer scattered among the nations, powerless to defend ourselves. We've restored our sovereignty in our ancient home, and the soldiers who defend our home have boundless courage. For the first time in 100 generations, we, the Jewish people, can defend ourselves. This is why, as Prime Minister of Israel, I can promise you one more thing. Even if Israel has to stand alone, Israel will stand. But I know that Israel does not stand alone. I know that America stands with Israel. I know that you stand with Israel. You stand with Israel because you know that the story of Israel is not only the story of the Jewish people, but of the human spirit that refuses again and again to succumb to history's horrors.
Now, Rick, I never speak in hyperbole all that much. I think a lot of times in media we go day to day and say that was the greatest ever, or that was horrible. I do speak about hyperbole when I'm speaking about myself, obviously. Hyperbole. Yes. I never say it so much that I actually shorten the word a little bit. But what I saw today was a grand slam. I don't see how anybody could take issue with that speech.
Well, I don't take issue with the quality of the speech. I do take some issue with what we got from the speech. It was a beautifully written speech, incredibly well delivered, very compelling. I don't think he said a word that I disagreed with. My problem was he was taking the president to task for his strategy in this, what we think is going to be this deal. He said that war was not on the table because he actually said that was a false choice, and yet he never told us what he was proposing that would be different. I really thought that's what he was coming here to do.
Bradley, you're shaking your head violently in agreement.
He did give real alternatives.
What was it?
He first said, let's verify some better behavior. This is the largest sponsor of global state terrorism.
We know all that. What does it mean?
Now, begin to measure, benchmarks in place, draw it down so there are fewer lines of connection
What does that
between
mean,
mass
Bradley?
murder around
Wait,
the globe.
Do me a
Rick,
favor.
here's
Don't
what it
repeat
means.
the speech. Tell us
Here's
what
what
that
it means. Let's have fewer people buried whose deaths are directly attributable to funding from Iran
Great. What do
and
we do in
bombs
the
Iranian
meantime?
bomb makers made.
Fine. What do we
And
do in
if
the meantime?
If we do
Gotta
that,
answer that.
I am. If you let me.
You're not
if
saying
Give
we
a little
do
space.
that, then we'll begin to be able to even pursue this path. What's really disarming, I think, for the administration is Bibi stood up and said, I don't want to go to war either. The truth is, a greater percentage of Israeli citizens know the experience of war than any percentage of Americans. No one takes that more seriously. No one takes it more seriously than I
Does
do,
that
because
not
I have
equate
fought
to no
and
deal?
I buried
You're
students.
just talking. Does that not equate to no deal?
But is-
Yes or no?
No, it
There
may
isn't a
equate
deal.
with no deal.
And if it's
If
no
you-
deal, what happens then?
But no
then
deal's
we'll have
better
to
than a
deal with
bad
it,
deal.
assuming that we have to have a deal. It's like going shopping at the
I'm not
market
saying
when you're
we
hungry.
do. I'm
You
saying
buy a
what's
lot of
the
garbage.
option?
Let Heather in.
Well, I agree with Brad. I mean, a no deal is better than a
Okay.
bad deal, and
What
everyone
happens then?
has said that. Then we maintain where we are and have them act better.
Here's
we
the
need
deal,
to,
folks.
But Rick, they're not doing anything as far as actions to get. There's no stick or carrot here. They're just getting whatever
All
the
right,
heck
let
they
me
want.
let me summarize. Look, I'm okay with no deal. I really am.
Great.
But understand what you get. No deal means that they continue to develop their nuclear
Not necessarily.
Not if you have
That's
Really?
much
Why
too
not?
facile.
Why
Here's
not?
why. The claim that they will is based on two things, China and Russia. And the idea is that the group of nations, P5+1, will support the right thing. China and Russia will keep buying their oil, and they'll be able to keep spinning the centrifuges and build bombs. First of all, it's not 100% clear that's the case, because when we're faced with that stark choice, even the Russians and the Chinese may be persuaded to behave differently. And here's the more important thing, right, Rick.
quite a gamble.
There are times, no, the bigger gamble is gambling the soul of many nations, including this nation,
That
to
sounds
simply
great.
do what's convenient.
The
And
soul.
if there's nothing is there any, let's put it this way, is there anything you believe is worth fighting for?
Yeah, you absolutely there is. And
What?
That's, wait.
No, you asked
No,
what?
I just
What's
said, yeah,
worth fighting
I'm
for?
about
Let
to
everybody
tell you.
finish each other's
I
sentences,
actually
please.
think there is. And if Bibi had gotten in front of us today and said what I thought he was going to say, which is this deal is no good. If we can't get the right deal, then we have to face reality. And reality is we have to go to war
But we don't.
to face them.
Heather-
but he said we didn't.
It's a
But
Heather,
false
final
he
hope.
word.
well, he did
Final word to
say
Heather.
that
We're
he
almost
didn't
out of
give us
time.
anything
But,
else.
he did
Just
say he's
wrong.
willing to stand alone if he has to. He did say that.
What does that got to
well,
do with it?
I think that means that he's willing to go
What?
attack if he has to. I think that he
Didn't
means that
say-
he's.
He
but I
told
think
us it was
he-
a false choice.
But I
Rick, he
think-
You
did.
just said it was a false
It's a
choice.
false dichotomy. We must go to war.
And you're
Actually,
talking
this is a
about
nation.
souls.
This is our nation ready to go to war.
All I want to know is
Don't
what happens
threaten
if
the war
And,
we don't have to have.
and we get to continue this conversation in the next block. Get some passion, guys. My goodness. More on Netanyahu's historic speech. This is the Daily Wrap only on Newsmax TV.
What I also know is that he made the same argument before this current interim deal, and even as officials in his own government had to acknowledge that Iran has, in fact, maintained their end of the bargain. So what I'm focused on right now is solving this problem. I'm not focused on the politics of it. I'm not focused on the theater of it. And my strong suggestion would be that members of Congress, as they evaluate it, stay similarly focused.
Oh, look at that. The president not very impressed with Netanyahu's speech, nor was the Huffington Post. Let's look at that headline that we, I believe, have on screen in a moment. There it is. Bibi Bluster, which we'll get the opinion of our panel on in just a moment, but it's got some nice alliteration, I guess, even though it's B and blah, but still, it is the Huffington Post. Thunders against, well, if you guys want to put that back up real quick, there was a sub headline to that, if we could just scroll down to it real fast.
Taking a while.
Yes, it is. But as you see, Speaker Boehner was there and Joe Biden as well.
There we go.
Yes, the thunders against potential Iran deal. As many as 60 Democrats boycott may well have done Netanyahu and his allies more harm than good. Obama PM's address didn't offer any viable alternatives. So obviously a very fair and balanced
Wait a
analysis
second.
from the Huffington
That's not
Post.
fair. I wrote that first.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Got it from
Anyway, welcome back to the Daily Wrap. I'm Joe Concho along with Rick Unger and Heather Hansen and Brad Hirschfield. We were talking about Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's speech in front of Congress and, frankly, in front of the world today. Democratic Congressman John Yarmuth from Kentucky had harsher words for Bibi.
I resented the condescending tone that he used, which basically indicated that he didn't think anybody in Congress or the country understood the threat that a nuclear weaponized Iran poses to his country, to the region, and to the world. I think the president has made it very clear we understand that threat. I don't think that there is any doubt that everyone in Congress and the administration understands that Iran has been a bad actor in the region, that it has sponsored terrorism, that it has done things that we would like to see changed.
Okay, Rick, let's get to the politics of this domestically.
I wish everybody could have stayed with us during the break because the debate was great.
Oh, well, we could
during
reenact
the
it
break.
right now.
It was.
Anyway, you heard the president, you heard the congressman there. Are Democrats playing this right?
I don't think it's particularly relevant. I don't know if it made sense or not for them to boycott. I don't agree with Congressman Yarmouth that what Bibi was doing was offensive. I think that a lot of people were listening to the speech beyond the Congress, and I understand why he did what he did. As I said, I don't have a problem with his speech. I thought it was a very good speech. I just wish he had offered up more. There's more things here at play than politics, like the safety of Israel and the safety of the world.
Brad, are you surprised this became a red-blue issue almost, where Democrats are taking, I'm not saying the side of Iran, but against Netanyahu, and Republicans are obviously very, very pro-Netanyahu?
Well, clearly that's the case. I'm not surprised. I wish I was surprised. It seems like everything from the price of paper clips to the safety of the world is becoming a red or blue issue. And I think that's a real challenge that we're all going to pay a price for. Because what I know is, whatever opinion I have, whether it's called red or blue or purple or something in between,
Or in your ties case
or if you
tonight,
like my
Chicago
tie,
Bears,
hey,
Orange,
that's
and
Go
Navy.
Bears. That's Chicago Bears,
Go
man.
Bears.
What I know is no one is ever so smart as to be 100% right 100% of the time, and no one and no side is so stupid as to be 100% wrong 100% of the time. We better start harvesting the best from all of these sides and come up with coherent, powerful policies, or we're all going to pay a very big price.
Heather, is this a 2016 political issue?
Well, no, I think that the issue right now is, back in October, the New York Times had a headline that Obama was going to try to do this by himself with a solo executive agreement. I think a big part of what happened today was it got everyone awake to this issue, and you heard even President Obama today say, Congress better be looking at this. I think now perhaps he sees that he's going to need congressional support if he thinks this deal is going to go through, and I think he's not going to get it, and that's got him a little bit concerned.
I think what both of my cohorts just said is absolutely right. And I would add to it that I don't think that the president's going to get away with just leaving it at what he said today. I think the speech was effective enough. It's going to call for a much more formal response from the President of the United States.
I think you're right. I think the challenge he faces now, he looks, the president, like a man hungry for a deal. And we all know that's the
right.
best
Not a
place
good
to
thing.
make a bargain.
Yeah.
And right, it's like the old adage, don't go shopping when you're hungry.
You're hungry.
You buy a lot of things that aren't so good for your health. If right now the president and the Secretary of State are so hungry for a deal that they're going to go right to the snack aisle, right, that's not a way to protect this country.
Interesting.
Now, I understand that people who say you live in constant panic means you don't see opportunity is also true. And that's a real challenge to the other side. But right now, this country looks way too hungry with no partner on the other side. I believe in talking to almost anyone about almost anything. But the president's going to have to work harder if he wants to convince the country.
I
it's
don't
the way
know
to
that
go.
that's the reality of it, but I do agree with you. The way Bibi set it up today, which was effective, the response that he got, I understand why
That's
you
the
say that.
feel of it. It might
Yes,
not be
I
inner workings,
understand
but
why
that
you
is the
say
feel of it.
Which is why he's going to have to address it
Gonna
more
have to.
formally.
And he's going to have to do it in a better way with more principles. I mean, the amount of things that Bibi cited to as far as Robert Frost and Moses and Purim,
Game of
all of
Thrones.
these, the Game of Thrones, Twitter. I mean, he really gave a speech that spoke to people, and people responded.
I don't watch Game
And
of Thrones. Maybe that was my
that- that
problem.
maybe
gotta
that's
watch.
why
Maybe
he
that
doesn't
was
Best
my
like
trash
problem
TV
with
there
the
is.
speech.
Yeah, Rick would be Littlefinger.
But I do know who Moses
Comment.
is.
You know,
Don't do
Moses.
that on air. I'll say something inappropriate.
But I think President Obama has to give some sort of counter if he thinks he's going to have any chance of convincing not just Congress, but the American people that this is a good idea.
Now, I know I'm the moderator and I ask the questions, but I have a perspective on this as well, and it literally hit me while you guys were just talking. I had to jot it down. This reminds me of the 1990s when Prime Minister Tony Blair, a Brit, when it came to Kosovo, took control of the narrative and actually became more popular in this country than an already popular President Clinton. And I get this feeling that President Obama watched that. He says he only read the transcript. Okay, it was on every network.
They're not buying that, huh?
No, it was on CNBC. It was even on CNBC and Fox Business.
I have too much respect for him to believe he didn't watch it. He watched the speech.
And who reads the transcript? It's
Right.
a lot easier just to fast forward, But still, this reminds me of the way Clinton resented Tony Blair, the way Obama will now probably resent Netanyahu, because
Probably.
what I saw today was a speech from a leader, and really, I mean, again, I'll use the term, a grand slam.
It was. I think it's actually the perfect summary of what happened here, and I think it's where most Americans are. Most Americans are willing to keep talking to Iran, but they also know we better be clear we're willing to fight for what's right.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I think that's right.
Wow, we're ending on a note of agreement.
But
Go
see, that
figure.
that was my issue. I wish Bibi had laid that out more firmly. These are our choices. I think we do end up
gotta
having
go,
to fight. I do.
He wants us out.
Okay, well, that will be the last word then. Anyway, coming up next in the Daily Wrap, Hillary Clinton has email issues, and I'm not talking about something the Geek Squad can fix. This is the Daily Wrap, and it's only on Newsmax TV. And welcome back to the Wrap, everybody. Well, Hillary Clinton has gotten herself in a bit of hot water. The New York Times reporting today that while Hillary was serving as Secretary of State, she decided to use a personal email account instead of her official State Department account for all government business. White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest responded today to the article.
Secretary Clinton's team, in response to that request, reviewed her emails and complied with that request by sending all of the emails on her personal account that pertain to her official responsibilities as Secretary of the State. They did that even though many of the records were already maintained on the state system, because those records were emails between the Secretary of State and State Department employees using their official government email address.
So are you saying that her use of her personal email solely was appropriate, or was it in violation of this policy?
Well, what you should do is that you should check with the State Department, who is responsible for administering this policy. But the policy, as a general matter, allows individuals to use their personal email address as long as those emails are maintained and sent to the State Department, which, if you ask Secretary Clinton's team, that's what they completed in the last month or two.
And Heather Hansen obviously admiring Josh Earnest's hair. The rhetoric, not so
I was
much.
actually feeling really bad for him because he was really trying to explain something that's kind of inexplicable.
I've said, by the way, you can't pay me enough to do that job.
Yeah.
When you're late second term press secretary, and what he's getting paid because he's a government employee,
Yeah.
you 7 figures.
But
at
you
least.
can tell he's just miserable, and he doesn't believe what he's speaking. Which is just. But here, you've got a situation where what she do, was it legal? Probably legal at the time that she did it. 2009, a set of rules came out from the National Archives Recording Agency that said that you're supposed to save these emails. In 2014, after she was gone, President Obama put together a statute that said that you have to actually do this, put it on your own email account, and it has to be one of the email accounts. She fell in between there, but she should have saved them. She shouldn't have had to been asked for them. Most importantly, she's lost the trust of a lot of people, and I think that that's what's going to hurt her.
Right, Bradley, that's the thing here. All right, so yeah, she's not going to jail. She's not going to
No,
be
of
persecuted in
course
any
not.
way. However, this is impossibly reckless. We're talking 55,000 pages of email. She is the cabinet head of the State Department, and if you can get into Sony's emails, I'm pretty sure you can get into Hillary Clinton's, what is this, a GoDaddy account that she established?
Right. That's why it's ridiculous. By the way, it is all recoverable, so if someone wants to go find it, the NSA can go find it. That's not the issue. The issue is there is no reason for her to have done this other than to relate to the world with that whiff of superiority and that whiff of entitlement that, frankly, the family puts out all the time, this sense of we're Clintons, so those rules don't apply to us. And I think that's a shame, because this is a person I actually have in many ways real respect for. But you can't relate with that kind of sanctimony to the American public. It's just, that's got to be out of bounds. And I think Chris O'Donnell said it best. There is no conceivable, rational explanation for what she did.
Chris
O'Donnell,
O'Donnell,
an actor.
the guy from Batman. Returns, the one with the third one with Val Kilmer.
I wrote.
He played
That's-
Robin.
yeah,
Yeah, thank
That's
you.
the one.
Okay.
That's the one.
Anyway, before
First
we
of
go off
all-
on a tangent.
First of all, Heather has the facts exactly right, and she described it perfectly. That is what happened here. I don't agree entirely with Brad for only one reason. I agree politically, really stupid, really bad, and what you just said is what people will think. But you have to remember that Colin Powell met the description of what you just said. He did the same thing. I don't agree with it. I think she's going to pay a price for it politically, but I don't necessarily think that it reveals some kind of arrogance or whatever. To me, more disturbing, it reveals stupidity because she knew she was going to run for president probably someday.
But she
Take
set
your
this-
pick.
But she set this up the day that she started
Yeah.
to sort of go ahead and set up an email account like this. When Colin Powell, a lot of the stuff that happened at the end of the Bush era with emails and emails disappearing, this was all behind them. She should have known better. And
And that's the issue.
I
By the way,
think
to be
I'm not
clear,
surprised.
Lawrence O'Donnell,
Yeah.
which makes more sense.
MSNBC host.
There you
Yes,
go. And if
to have
any,
him.
unless you think he's trying to undercut her presidential run for someone further to the left, he has no reason to attack this way. But it's pretty jarring because there is no rational reason to have done this unless you have this sense that you really are above the system. And that's exactly what you can't be when you serve the American public at this level. You are the system. You're not above the
Well,
system.
and the thing that surprises me is now she's got somebody going through both her personal and her work emails in order to determine which is which. And does she really want that? It just doesn't make sense.
She also should have had the sense, given the year this happened, that it was not going to be as secure as government email.
Her
would be.
opponents
Correct.
will hammer on what's happened over the last 2 weeks. These emails and the recklessness that I just said before. But remember, just 2 weeks ago, Clinton Foundation accepted contributions from foreign countries, which is a big no-no as well. In other words, shavings make a pile, and oh boy, here we go with the Clintons in the 90s all over again. 10 seconds.
And that's the issue. It's no one thing, but the sum of all of these could be a very big whole.
agree.
And that's
Right.
something they really need to deal with.
And Ron Fournier said today, and Ron's kind of a down-the-middle kind of guy, says maybe she should think about not running for president at all. We'll have to see. Anyway, coming up next, it's potluck time. This is the Daily Wrap. And welcome back to Daily Wrap, everybody. First, an apology from me and from the panel. Our best conversations tonight have been during the commercials. So we may want to do the whole,
All the agreeing is happening off camera.
yeah, online. Maybe we do something,
There you go.
right?
We
You can
can
watch
do
me
that.
drink
We can do
7
that.
bottles of water in the process. Anyway, it's potluck time, everybody. This is the part of the show where we go around the table and share our favorite stories of the day. Now, usually we go right to left. But since Brad Hirschfield is joining us tonight with, again, a Chicago Bears tie, that automatically gets you to the top of the line.
Excellent. It's rare that anything with the Bears gets to the top of the line. So I really appreciate that.
Good point.
Dr. Zakir Naik, he is from Pakistan, was awarded one of the highest awards in Saudi Arabia by King Salman for service to Islam. Here's who this guy is. He has repeatedly declared that the Jews, Lord knows what that means, control America, that apostates can be killed, that the United States is the world's, quote, biggest terrorist, and that the September 11th attacks, the murder of thousands, was clearly an inside job.
Why do we care about what this guy says?
Now, we care about what this guy said. Oh, by the way, the best of all is he reserves judgment on Osama bin Laden because, after all, he never met him.
Well,
That's reasonable.
Which, I understand, get to know who you're talking. We care because...
we're supposed to meet in Tora Bora. It didn't work.
Didn't happen. We couldn't get together. These guys from the SEALs showed up. And bottom line,
Come out to the coast, have a few laughs. Sorry.
We care because this is, by the way, $200,000 award, significant prestige from the King of Saudi Arabia, who among his titles is the Guardian of the Holy Places, one of the most important figures in the culture of global Islam, and an important ally of the United States. Right? We're going to have to learn in this country there's a difference between friends and allies. And the changing culture is a very complicated thing. You make alliances with people based on pragmatic needs. You don't have to celebrate them, and we need to be very clear-eyed that there are countries, including Saudi Arabia, that are very important and deserve to be respected strategic allies. But friendship, in the sense that they are supporting a global culture that looks anything like what we think of as freedom and democracy, is insane. And we have to tread very lightly on those premises. By the way, it works the other way. I talk to people, and we should talk to all kinds of people who we don't agree with. The issue is what's smart, not what makes you feel good.
Yeah, I mean,
Heather?
the fact that they've had, 10 beheadings this year?
10 alone this
I mean,
year.
they are a completely different culture, and we need to recognize that. To some respect, it even goes to the 9/11 papers and those 28 missing pages. I mean, there are a lot of questions about Saudi Arabia, and so I agree with you that we can be allies, and we can trust them for what we need them for, but we have to be very careful as to whether or not we consider them friends.
Honestly, I could not have put it better than Brad did. It was, you laid it out beautifully. The distinction is critically clear. Saudi Arabia is not our friend. They've been a necessary ally. I can't wait till that is no longer necessary. And the fact that they gave this guy an award is just despicable.
I'm sorry, Rick. I did a story about a month ago on a blogger in Saudi Arabia who was just simply, he wasn't writing anything horrible, right? And then sure enough, they put him in jail. Right, they put his lawyer in jail for 15 years, and now he has to get lashed 50 times for the next 20 weeks. Now, that's been suspended, but that is basically death by torture. Right, because after the first 50 lashes, he was in the intensive care unit. He could barely survive that.
And wasn't that right after Charlie Hebdo?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
So
it's the same kind of thing. Again, I am for making alliances with most anyone we can towards smart strategy. That's really important. Be clear-eyed in that. But that also means we can't pretend that every ally is our friend, and maybe more importantly, that every fight or negotiation we go into is because at the end, they'll be just like us. That is so profoundly naive, and we're going to have to get to a country in which we can actually make friends with people, make alliances with people who aren't friends, and be willing to talk to those we don't agree with, and then remain clear-eyed about the people we're actually talking with.
Well said, sir. That was a hell of a first course. Now, Heather Hansen.
how do you live up to that?
Yeah,
I'm sure you will.
You
can do it.
Mine is a little bit more closer to home. In California, they passed a law in 2006 called Jessica's Law, which had to do with sex offenders, not pedophiles, sex offenders, living within 2,000 feet of a playground or a school or something like that. Just this week, the Supreme Court in California struck that down, said it was unconstitutional, and said that these sex offenders have the right to find a place to live. And at first, it raised the hackles on my neck and really upset me, and I know there's a lot of parents out there who are very upset. But what you come to find out is that it actually raised the risk of different types of offenses happening because they couldn't track these guys anymore because they were now homeless. They weren't checking in with their parole officers. So it goes to show that these problems are not so easily solved. You know, you think if you just shut them out and take them away, it will be okay, but you can't hide it. We've got to find a way to fix it better than that.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? We always speak in sound bites in cable news, and it's like they decided to strike down Jessica's Law. Oh my God, they're going to allow pedophiles by schools again. Well, there's a reason for it, and you got to go an extra layer. So it sounds like the right decision.
Pedophiles have cars too. I never quite understood the
Well, and
argument.
this was just sex offenders. So even those who had raped an adult, which
They have
doesn't,
cars
it's not
too.
excusable either.
You know,
but-
they all have cars.
We all wish we could make the bogeyman go away. It's just not that simple. We're going to have to step up and confront them and deal with them humanely but seriously.
And that's the last word on that, Heather. Bradley, well done. Anyway, we take a quick break, but don't worry, more potluck, including mine. This is the Daily Wrap, only on Newsmax TV. Welcome back to Daily Wrap. I'm your host, Joe Concha, and if you're just joining us, we're in the middle of our potluck, where we share our favorite stories of the day. And this is unprecedented, by the way, because usually during potluck, this is what's called a 6-minute segment or block. So basically, we have to share 3 minutes of real estate at this point. And Rick Unger is up first, and if you even think about stepping on my 3 minutes.
Let me see how I can filibuster this.
I was going to say, can you think of not stepping
He
into
has
it?
that ability.
So the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. How do we not say that the United States House of Representatives is anything but insane? Today, as we knew they ultimately would, they approved a clean DHS funding bill, no Obama stuff, no this, no that, and it's going right to the Senate where it will be approved. How did they not know it would turn out this way when everybody else did? When are we going to stop playing these games, folks?
Well, but I think it's not just the House Republicans. I think it's the entirety of Senate and the House as to how they deal with these situations where they go
Republicans who did this.
Well,
This time.
This time.
This time.
Yeah, and there's an argument to be made that had they started at the very beginning with a better argument, they could have won this battle, but they didn't. And so, yes, you're correct. But I think that ultimately the entire Congress is insane
It's
and meets
insane.
that
Oh,
definition.
no argument here.
Look, it's theater. We know that. Politics has always been theater. The truth is we live in an age we can see more of the theater than most people once could. So we have to suffer with the
More than I want
theatrics.
to.
But haven't you noticed
But
they
the-
always lose?
Well, that's the amazing
Always
thing. That
lose.
the theatrics, I am actually okay with even when it annoys me, if it doesn't get in the way of actually delivering the
Right,
goods.
right.
And I think that's the problem we have. And you asked before, Joe, with BB's speech, is it just a red-blue thing? And I think you were right. And that's what we keep running up against. When red and blue matters more, I know you're going to laugh, but I mean it, matters more than red, white, and blue. I don't care which side you sit on. We have a problem, and we have got to hold politicians from both sides accountable to that. And it
Let
starts
the
with
record
holding
show I
accountable
left
to
you
like.
more than half the time.
You're
Mr.
done?
Concha. I'm done.
It's over?
My point was made in one sentence. They're insane.
Wow. How much time we got, control room?
You're scared now,
There
aren't
you go.
Now
We'll fill
you're
it.
worried. Now
About
he's worried.
3.5
Nah,
minutes.
never worried.
See? Now he's
Okay.
scared.
In prompter, it says it's finally my turn, but I got finally. Anyway, so we all know that some of you just new to the show are probably going up to Newsmax TV or YouTube and binge watching all the past Daily Wraps.
I hope.
But this is happening obviously with House of Cards. And that came out last Thursday night at midnight, I believe. And a lot of people last weekend decided to watch the whole damn thing in Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or even one day, including somebody you wouldn't expect. And
Do most politicians binge off the House of Cards and they can watch the whole series?
Look, I got to tell you, I'm addicted to House of Cards. When it comes out for 3-4 days, I sit down with my iPad and watch the whole series.
I love how there's like fat Leonardo DiCaprio in the background saying, is he really talking about this right now? Who was that guy?
Not expected.
Yeah, yeah. Well, anyway, look, here's the thing I have about binge watching. All right. Now, I think, no, Heather's obviously the youngest here. I'm the youngest guy here. All right. And I remember Dallas when I was.
Loves to remind us of that.
I'm just saying.
But I'm younger than you, so
I
can get
remember
out there.
Dallas.
waiting for it.
Let me finish.
No.
I remember Dallas when I was 9 years old. All right, 1980, when JR was shot, and I think it happened in March. And then that was the cliffhanger, and it didn't come on again for 6 months.
Right.
And you had to wait to see what was going to happen. And now with these shows, it's continuing storylines, right? And so maybe at least you have to wait a week. And I'm trying to stick to that in some capacity.
It's an
all
immediate
right?
gratification.
By the way, can I just say, I can't think of anybody
Mm-hmm.
who would enjoy the behavior of President Francis Underwood more than Senator Ted Cruz.
Right.
It's his role model, for God's sakes.
Hillary Clinton loves
So
the
I
show
will
as
ask you a
well.
question.
Both
Why
sides,
do you wait?
both sides,
Why do you
yeah.
delay?
Because I'm like Rick. I like a fine wine and a good meal, and I don't wolf it down. I savor it.
I'll watch it
and
all
I
one
say,
day.
okay, good. And what I do after I'm done watching one episode, then I go to a couple of different blogs that actually analyze what happened,
You're so
right?
disciplined.
Yeah,
You do,
well,
you
because
enjoy
you
the
enjoy it
experience.
more. Who
But
needs 2
we're-
minutes in a
we're
cloud of
about
dust?
I'm with you. By the way,
gratification
we
now.
watch that show and House of Cards, but we have a rule in my house. It's one thing I watch one show at a time with my wife, but never more than 2 episodes. Never more than 2 episodes.
we watch
Because I'm a
that.
little hungrier than you, is clear. But I don't gobble it up voraciously because I actually think learning to delay gratification a little bit and digest the artistic product, it's that much richer.
But our society is not that way anymore. We're immediate gratification. We want everything
What
all
about
at once.
society?
and
What
that's
do
why-
you do?
I watch as many as I can in the time that I have.
Wow, really? So you'll go 5, 6 deep.
If I don't often have that much time, but if I do, I would.
I say that's what makes Game of Thrones great, because at least I can go week to week, and I am
yeah.
watching again. I declared I wouldn't at
You're
one point.
It
obviously
also
not
makes it
very
more fun
busy
to talk
people.
about it. Yeah.
You're obviously not very busy people. I will take next weekend, my wife and I, it's the first chance we're going to have. We will watch every episode.
Really?
Yeah, I
Oh,
don't have
and by the
time.
way, this is one more thing, and I'm going to say this right to the camera so I can speak to my wife directly. So we have this rule that says we have to watch it
yeah.
together so we're on the
Right.
same page.
Right.
And who decided to watch a little Game of Thrones last night? Well, I was here. Her. So then she goes to bed. I got to wait until like 10 o'clock to watch this thing until 11, and so I can be caught up to her. So cheating
That is
in these
bad.
this
It
is a
causes
very,
a
very
major
serious thing in this
problem.
country.
This is a big
And
issue.
anyway, we got to go. That's all the time we have. Yay or nay is next. This is the Daily Wrap, and it's only on Newsmax TV. And And welcome back to the Daily Wrap, everybody. It's time for Yay or Nay. First up is Jon Stewart planning on entering professional wrestling. Yes, he's got some good moves for a 50-something-year-old guy. And I think we have do we have clips of Stewart actually doing the whole wrestling thing?
You don't understand what it's like to be me, huh?
I understand. It's nice.
You don't understand what it's like to be me, huh, Stewart? You don't think I learned anything?
As Orton was making his way out here, and Rollins looked back at him, Stewart went low.
Did not see that coming.
No.
At all. So after seeing that clip, and we know Jon Stewart is retiring from The Daily Show later this year, does he have a future in professional wrestling, Brett?
I'm going to go big nay. Did you see the size differential between him and the other guy?
He still inflicted pain.
Those guys are cut. It is all an act, but you got to have the set for the act. I don't think he's going to be a wrestler. An announcer? Maybe.
Interesting.
I'm with Brad. I think that while he's done pretty well bobbing and weaving on his show, I don't think that he's going to go for wrestling.
Interesting.
I'll give it a nay, but you know that you made it when you get to be part of wrestling.
That's true.
You're right.
You know?
That's true.
A very select few get to go
Very few get to do
into
that.
that. Yes, I will go with nay, but not from a lack of effort, Mr. Stewart. He'll be doing more producing, I have a feeling, of films. And actually, the one that he did last year,
directing.
Rosewater, was
It's really good.
very good. Anyway, a new study from the University of Missouri found that heavy Facebook use can lead to depression, or more accurately, experience envy. This is what happens after seeing all the wonderful experience your friends and family cherry pick out of their otherwise miserable lives for you to see on Facebook, which in turn can make a person think that their life isn't the happy place portrayed on said Facebook. Experience envy. Should people get off Facebook and stop feeling sorry for themselves and go on with their actual lives? Yay or nay, Rick Unga?
Well, yeah, if it's causing that kind of trouble, of course they should. I love hanging out on Facebook, but then I have nothing to be envious of. I'm a happy guy.
He is. It's true. Heather?
I think there's good on Facebook, there's bad on Facebook. If it's making you bummed out, then you should get right off of it.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I think Facebook is a part of life. If you confuse any part of your life with all of your life, you have a problem. I don't care if that's Facebook or your greatest success or your biggest failure. If you actually have experience envy because you're spending that much time on Facebook, get off.
Get on Twitter.
So good at talking like a rabbi. It's like you want to just listen
I play one
to
on
him,
TV.
and it makes me feel good somehow. You know?
Wow.
Call me
That's
out.
an accomplishment.
I don't know.
I earned my keep.
Anyway, I forget what the question was, but I believe that I'm a yay at this point. I'm the guy who loves going on vacation and putting up every type of vacation photo, particularly when I'm in a warm weather place and you're in a miserable place like New York right now. So you could sit there and be like, why can I go on a vacation? Well, because I work hard and I make money, that's why. Ah.
You want them to be envious of you.
Yes,
Yeah,
of
okay.
course.
I
I
get
want
it.
to inflict pain, and there's no dislike button, so you can't lose.
Anyway.
Anyway, you asked for it. Okay, some of you did. Sharknado 3. Sharknado?
Sharknado.
Sharknado 3 is coming to Sci-Fi
Sharknado?
this July. That almost rhymes. Anyway, the third installment of the best worst movie ever made has an all-star cast this time, including, Rick, you're going to love this being a Hollywood guy, Mark Cuban and Ann Coulter as the president and vice president. Of
course.
So, will, Heather, Sharknado 3 live up to the original, or at least part 2?
Absolutely. Everyone's gotten better, and with the cast that they have coming, with those two as the president and vice president, I can't wait to watch it.
Wow, Rick,
Hey,
you're
I'm
a big
gonna-
fan of Ann Coulter.
I'm going to name drop here. My old buddy Ian Ziering has been in each one of them.
Yeah.
As long as Ian gets a job, I'm good with
Wait, before you jump in. You're friends with Ian
it. For
Ziering?
many years.
Steve-O from 90210.
Yeah,
you
he
go.
worked
The
for
star
me.
of Sharknado, not
He
NATO.
was, he was one of the biker mice, Ian.
The who?
Biker mice from Mars.
His cartoon.
My first show that I created.
Really?
Yeah.
You know, he's 50 years old.
Yeah.
He doesn't age.
He
He
looks
looks
good.
just
He
like
looks
he's,
great, doesn't he?
he's about to
Yeah.
go to the Peach Pit, or at
He
least the
does.
Peach Pit after dark. You're
good.
friends with him? Can we have him on the show?
I'll see. When he's in New York, he lives
Get
in
a
L.A.
whole Beverly Hills reunion.
Absolutely my favorite character on 90210. They never gave him any heavy plot,
make it
any
happen.
heavy
Right, he was
lifting.
just the
We'll
fun
make it happen.
guy.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
wow, he's a
Like-
Jersey guy, West Orange.
He is
I
a
believe.
Jersey guy. That's correct.
Brad, sorry to step on you.
No worries. I think that was well worth it. If by live up to Sharknado 1 and 2, you mean live down to them, 100% yay. Let's leave it at that.
Okay, very good. We're going to go through this one quickly, guys, okay? So when proud papa and former Phillies pitcher Curt Schilling shared the news of his daughter getting into college, nothing could have prepared him for what was going to happen next. A legendary pitcher receiving vulgar and threatening messages about his daughter from cyberbullies. What douches. But Schilling did not take this lightly. He actually found out who the anonymous trolls were and shared their identities online. Good for him. You already know I'm a yay. The trolls' accounts have since been deactivated and the guilty parties were actually fired from their jobs. Yay or nay, did Curt Schilling go too far, Brad?
Big yay. I'm a father of 3 daughters. Big, big yay.
Yeah, he did not go too far. Absolutely was well founded.
Can't go too far when you're standing up for your kid.
You
Big
can't.
day.
That's true.
There you
And,
go.
and for all the people that he faked the bloody sock thing somehow, get a life. Control that. Anyway, that's our show for tonight. Thank you, panel, for being here. We appreciate it. Tune in tomorrow night, 6 p.m. for more Daily Wrap. I'm Joe Concha saying bye-bye.